everyone, Kat here, your favorite ginger bibliophile. I hope y'all doing really well, and I hope you're in the mood for a grim tale. The heck? It's kind of been set. So, we've been reading through this, and I've only read you, yeah, a few tales there, but hopefully y'all have been having fun with it. I'm enjoying going through this anthology with y'all. So, and today we've got yet another tale that, of course, I've never heard of, despite I'm reading fairy tales. Of course, and again, I grew up on, Disney. So if it's not one of theirs, I probably don't know it. But I have been having fun reading retellings of other ones and going, hey, they didn't make a movie out of that. That's a new one. And I don't think they're going to make a movie out of this one. It's Clever Elts. And it's semi short, and we've even got a little picture in here. So hopefully it'll be a fun one. But if that's not your thing, check the description box down below, and I've got all the cute puppies and kitties and the wildlife in the backyard for you that you're really here for. Or all the book reviews and whatnot, too, if you still want the bookish stuff, just not the fairy tales. There once was a man who had a daughter called Clever Elts. Not starting off as a great father with that name. When she'd grown up, her father said, "It's time for her to get married." "I agree," said her mother. "If only someone would come along and take her." I don't think they like her very much. At last, someone named Hans came from far away, and he began courting her. However, he set one condition. Clever Elves had to prove she was really smart. "He's one to talk. We read about how clever he was last week, and he was not at all." So I guess, she does need to be smart to make up for him. "Oh," said her father, she's as bright as the newborn day." "Oh," said the mother, "she can see the wind coming down the road and hear flies cough." "Fine and good," said Hans, "but if she isn't really smart, I'm not going to take her." When they were sitting at the table and had finished their meal, the mother said, "Elts, go down to the cellar and fetch some beer." Clever Elts took the pitcher from the wall, went down to the cellar, and along the way played with the lid by flapping it to pass the time. When she got down there, she took a stool and put it in front of the keg so she would not have to stoop, for she was afraid of hurting her back or causing herself some unexpected injury. Smart girl. Then she set the pitcher in front of her and turned the tap. While the beer was running, she kept her eyes busy by looking up at the wall, where she gazed around for some time. At last she caught sight of a pickaxe hanging directly above her. The masons had left it hanging there by mistake. Suddenly, Clever Elts began to weep, and she said, "If I get Hans and we have a child, and he grows up, and we send him to the cellar to draw some beer, the pickaxe will fall on his head and kill him." Then she sat there and wept and bawled with all her might on account of the impending disaster. Upstairs, the others waited for the beer, but Clever Elts did not return. Then the mother said to the maid, "You better go down to the cellar and see what's keeping Elts." The maid went and found her sitting in front of the keg and bawling with all her might. "Elts, why are you crying?" asked the maid. "Why shouldn't I cry? If I get Hans and we have a child, and he grows up and we send him to draw some beer, there's a good chance that the pickaxe will fall on his head and kill him." "What a clever Elts we've got," said the maid, who sat down next to her and began to weep about the disaster. Okay, I'm not seeing any cleverness here, but we do have a picture of her staring off into space with her, overflowing, beer mug there. After a while, when the maid did not return and the others upstairs were getting thirsty for the beer, the father said to the servant, "You'd better go down the cellar and see what's keeping Elts and the maid." The servant went downstairs and found Elts and the maid sitting together and weeping. "Why are you crying?" he asked. "Oh," said Elts, "why shouldn't I cry? If I get Hans and we have a child and he grows up and we send him to draw beer, the pickaxe will fall on his head and kill him." Well, at least she can remember one sentence. Never changes a word. "What a clever Elts we've got," said the servant, who sat down next to her and also began to howl loudly. Upstairs, the others waited for the servant, but when he did not appear, the husband said to the wife, "You'd better go down the cellar and see what's keeping Elts." Geez, they really want that beer. The wife went down and found all three wailing and wanted to know the reason. So Else told her father that her future child would probably be killed by the pickaxe when he grew up and was sent to draw some beer, for the pickaxe would fall down. What a clever Else we've got, her mother said, and she sat down next to her and began weeping. Now, the husband waited upstairs a while longer, but when his wife did not return, and he grew thirstier and thirstier, he said, I'd better go down to the cellar myself and see what's keeping Else. When he reached the cellar and saw them all sitting together and weeping, he learned that Elsa's future child was the cause of it, for he might be killed by the pickaxe if he were under it drawing beer at the exact same time the axe fell. And they exclaimed, What a clever Else we've got! And he sat down and wept too. The bridegroom continued to sit alone upstairs for a long time, but when it seemed that nobody would return, he thought, They're probably waiting for me to come downstairs. I'd better go down and see what they're up to. When he got there and saw the five of them screaming and moaning quite pitifully, he asked, Has there been an accident of some kind? Oh, dear Hans, if we get married and have a child, and he grows up, and we happen to send him here to draw beer, then the pickaxe that's been left behind up there could fall on his head and split his skull in two. Don't you think that's reason enough to cry? Well, said Hans, I certainly don't need more brains than that for my household. Since you're such a clever Else, I'll have you for my wife. So he took her by the hand, led her upstairs, and married her. And nobody thought to find a better place than to not hanging on the wall above the keg. Yep, they all deserve each other. One day, after Hans had been living with Else for some time, he said, Wife, I'm going to go to work and earn some money, and I want you to go into the field and cut the wheat so we have some bread. Yes, my dear Hans, I'll do that. When Hans had gone away, she cooked some good porridge and took it with her into the field. When she got there, she said to herself, What should I do first? Cut the wheat or sleep? I think I'll sleep first. So she lay down in the wheat field and fell asleep. Meanwhile, Hans had been back home for some time, and when Else did not appear, he said, What a clever Else I've got. She's so industrious that she doesn't even come home to eat. But when evening came and she still did not appear, Hans went out to see what she had cut. However, nothing was cut, and she was lying asleep in the wheat field. Hans hurried back home and fetched a net with bells used for catching birds. He hung it over Else while she continued sleeping. After that, he ran home, locked the front door, and sat down on a chair to work. Finally, when it was already quite dark, clever Else awoke. As she stood up, she heard jingling all around her, and the little bells rang at each step she took. Then she became frightened and so confused that she did not know whether she was really clever Else. Is it me, or isn't it me? Since she did not know what to answer, she just stood there in doubt for a while. Finally, she thought, I'll go home and ask whether it's me or not. They'll surely know. She ran to the front door, but it was locked. Then she knocked at a window and called out, Hans, is Else inside? Yes, Hans answered. She's here. That made her frightened. She said, Oh God, then I'm not me. And she went to another house. When the people heard the bells, they did not want to open the door. Since there was no place for her to go, clever Else ran out of the village, and nobody has ever seen her again. Yeah, all the characters in this one suck. If he wanted somebody smart, he should have picked up on that one. Yeah, none of them could figure out to move the axe or how to get the beer. But he was just kind of cruel. The others are stupid. Yeah. So hopefully the next one is better. Except for I think we'll be skipping that one because I don't really do religion on my channel, and that one is definitely a religious tale. No, it wasn't marked. There is a section that says that they are religious tales, and one that's a section of previously omitted ones, but there are quite a few that were left out of that. Hey, read these to your good little religious kids. So we're gonna skip a little bit ahead. Hopefully, we'll enjoy the next one. Do you have a copy of this? Have you read it and know what your story is that's your favorite? Drop a line, let me know, and I will see you next time. Bye. Happy reading.